Blinking, you blinking?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, press. 1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
6,
7,
8,
9.
10.
Yizzo! Oh, you want strike? You want strike from last week?
I can't do that every single episode. It's just once a week.
Wow.
Twice a week.
Shanti was talking about that organizer shit, and now she went on strike. She said, I'm not. I think she's over it.
Just stops it. Makes people go, what? You were doing that thing you were doing before?
Wow. I'm hurt, flabbergasted, appalled. Hi, everyone. We have not yet figured out how to make this points to ponder, more questions than answer version of our episode to come out on Thursdays. I don't know why we can't figure that out. I think that we just have to we're still getting this schedule together. I think we have to not do it one week, not release on a Thursday and then just drop the Monday, Thursday, if that's really what we want to do. But I also don't understand the difference. Y'all can't go into the week with the Points to Ponder episode.
One person said that. We also one person
person said it, but I put a poll on their thing and people all tap yes, that they want to start the week with Kiki. Like us just
we should
talking
take a
about
break then and make it and then come back.
She's striking all around, y'all.
We can't stop.
No, we can. Maybe next week. Maybe this week. How does this work? Maybe this week we don't drop on the Thursday. Maybe we just drop. Wait, is that how it works? I don't fucking know. We'll figure it out. We are gonna figure it out. But in the meantime, in between time, like we said last week, we had some voicemails, and it actually worked perfectly that we save these voicemails for our Points to Ponder episode. Because, baby, they had things to say, and I love this community. I love when I hear people calling in and challenging us or offering their differences of opinions, and just adding to the conversation. So, with that said, before we even get into that, if you have feedback for us, please give us a call and construct. Wait, let me talk about feedback real quick. Because I know you about to cringe.
Good to us.
No. Let me clarify. Because I'm not just talking about feedback. I want to be in conversation with the folks that listen to this podcast and be in community. We received some feedback. And Shanti was you're so good. Shanti was like, oh, this person wrote and said that they basically didn't like one of the episodes. They would listen, this was in capital letters, not it. I felt like I walked in.
You know who you are.
Yeah, shout out to you, you know who you are. Matter of fact, I just want to read it. Can I read it? Or is that wrong? I won't read the name.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. They wrote and said, Yizzo, had the nerve to write Yizzo real nice. And then said, hello, ladies. I will make this short. I love the energy you two bring. However, in capital letters, this episode was not it. Okay, I will tune in and still support because I like you both for different reasons. But this feedback is just to tell you both that the previous formula worked on this side of the mic. This felt like I came in the middle of a heart-to-heart and there's just an awkwardness. Just unnecessary. All right, that's it. Okay, sis. So obviously we still working things out on how we're going to do this 2 episodes a week. But right now that really works for us. Secondly, the heart-to-heart comment disheartened me a little bit because you are going to come in on some heart-to-heart conversations with Shanti and I. And maybe it just felt like we just jumped into it and there was no foreplay. We didn't kiss on anybody's necks or anything.
Or they didn't like the topic. I took it as they didn't like the topic.
I think it was all of the above. It was trash.
Not the format of it.
She actually didn't like us that episode too. It's like, I'm playing. No, well, she said the previous formula worked, so that made me think that the just long old episode,
Oh.
because you kind of, it buttered you up and got you ready for whatever main topic.
I need more clarification from this person.
Write us back, Queen. You know who you are, but be nice. But I will say, I appreciate that feedback. I just want to make it really clear that you are going to come on here and get some heart to hearts often, because I feel like that's like a cornerstone of the podcast is that we're vulnerable and we have these kind of conversations. So, yeah, if that's not what you're looking for, then maybe you just listen to the Kiki episodes. You know, maybe that's it. I don't know. But we will, as we transition, and figure out this new format, which I think it's working. You know, we'll definitely butter you up a little more. We won't just go in hot and heavy like we did, tongue out.
She said,
maybe that's really what it was.
Going. Yeah,
we didn't even get you lubricated. It was a mess, child.
Well,
too much. So anyway, please get all that to say. Give us a call, or write us the email. DMs are getting tricky because it's hard to follow, and there's two people navigating the account. And Shanti's gonna read it and not respond, or even hit the heart button to even acknowledge it. You still do that, and it drives me crazy. But you know, it's hard. We're working it out, and that's that. So let's get into the voicemail. Are you ready, Sheila?
Yes.
I would like to preface that this voicemail that I'm going to is more constructive criticism, so get ready.
Hey, Around the Way Curls. My name is Vaughn. This is my first time ever doing something like this. I've never felt compelled enough to reach out to any podcast or anything to leave any kind of message, but you all had a conversation that I've actually been waiting for the Black community to start having for quite some time now. And it's not necessarily raising biracial children. I don't plan on raising biracial children. I'm a Black man, and I'm gay, and I don't like white men, and I don't want to have, I'm not actively trying to have, I should say, biracial children. I do want children, but I'm not actively pursuing that. Anyway, I think what the conversation that you all had that I'm interested in is Blackness as a whole, and what that is going to look like, and how that is going to affect the community. It changing, right? And Shanti, I have a lot of feelings about a certain comment you made. Usually, I'm on your side. I was on your side for verses, and the whole Michael Jackson versus Jay-Z thing. But not with you on this one. And I know you didn't mean it to be what it could kind of feel like. You said you were excited about the potential of mixed race children shaking up or fucking up what Blackness looks like and what Blackness is, because it kind of deconstructs race itself. I think that's a very limited idea of race, because it excludes the fact that Black people are always going to exist. Mixed race people exist, absolutely, but Black people, phenotypically, genetically, racially, Black people are always going to exist. So stretching the margin further away from that, to me, especially if it comes with invalidating, or not invalidating, especially if it comes with, I don't want to say invalidating, that's the word that's kind of ruminating in my head. Invalidating those experiences, because there's nothing wrong with them. And I think for me, I'm West Indian, I'm Jamaican by birth, and I lived in Jamaica until I was 8, and then I grew up in South Florida. So for me, Blackness has not always just been the cookout. I think that's African American Blackness.
Hold on.
So, hey y'all, my name is Vaughn. This is my second time leaving a message because clearly I was talking too much the first time, so cut off. I just wanted to say really quickly, I think a conversation that you all were having that I would love to see had with mixed race and non-mixed race black people is the conversation around race itself and the potential harm that black people will face with the whole stretching of the black identity thing, and how it could lead to I don't want to say that, but anyway, I think it would be a really good conversation to have, fully fleshed out. Again, I'm a West Indian black man, and for me, blackness has always been non-monolithic. It's always looked like various different things. I have black and Indian people in my family. I have black and West Asian, East Asian people in my family. I have full black people in my family. I have black and white or European people in my family. And I think in the West Indies, we always see each other as black because we share the same culture regardless of what racial makeup you may have. And I think we're kind of seeing that switch up now. And I would love to see, I really want to go further into this conversation, but it cuts off if I do. So I would just like to see that conversation extended and hear people talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. Reiterated it. All right, Vaughn. Thank you for calling. Shanti.
Yeah, I think it makes me think about the conversation that we had with Dash about the Latinx experience and about because you have a mix of people, like if you the spectrum, you have your really, really white folks and you have your really, really black folks. Let's just say, for like example, Brazil, where I feel like that is something where it gets kind of muddied. You kind of continue, just because you mix things up doesn't mean that the complications or the consequences or anti-blackness in any way is resolved or alleviated. It actually just makes it even more, they become even more marginalized because there's this story that starts happening about like what Dash was saying was like, because you have these mulatto people that are phenotypically more celebrated and accepted, then it becomes like, what are you darker black people even upset about, right? Like, what are you talking about? We're all mixed up. It's a melting pot. Everything's okay. And I don't think that's what I was, saying, that I was excited about it just being a melting pot and like, the complexity and the consequence and anti-blackness is somehow going to be resolved just because everything's mixed up. Because again, you can see globally throughout the world that that's just not the case. I think what I was touching on more was the idea that regardless of the phenotype, blackness remains this big question mark. Because just like you said, somebody in Haiti, their definition of being black or how they identify as being black compared to, somebody in Canada is completely different. So like the exploration and the ways in which we want to make blackness like this monolithic thing is I think is going to continue. And as America becomes more similar to like Brazil and the Caribbean, where all these folks are mixing up, maybe it even becomes, like you said, it could become even more problematic. It could become more even elusive of like pinpointing anti-blackness, because it's like, but wait a minute, we're all mixed up. Everybody's black in a way. I guess, I hope that makes sense. But yeah, no,
it's interesting.
That's not what I was trying to say, but I hear you at the what could possibly happen, because we see it happen in the Caribbean and in South America all the time.
And the episode that Shanti is referring to with Dash, can you explain who Dash is?
Dash is from Panama. and she is
Dashira
definitely.
Harris.
She has amazing conversations around Blackness in the Latinx parts of the world, South America, Brazil, the Caribbean, where again, people want to glaze over and people want to, because everybody's mixed up, they don't want to be, white supremacy becomes this arguable thing. Like Jennifer Lopez, for instance, would be considered Black. Some people want to argue that Jennifer Lopez is Black because she has some Black genes mixed up in her. And so then they want to lessen the experience or deny the Black experience of phenotypically Black Latin people. And it's like, no, there are white Latinos, there are Black Latinos, and then you have this mixture in between. And the experiences had and the oppression that they have experienced is completely different because of white supremacy. Like, just because we're mixed up doesn't mean that white supremacy hasn't fucked our shit up as well. And, you know, you have Dominicans that are clearly Black say, I'm not Dominican. I mean, I'm not Black, I'm Dominican. It's like, no, nigga, you're Black. But because of that anti-Blackness, they're like, no, I'm Dominican. And it gets muddy. It gets real tricky, as you say. And she's just really wanting to kind of educate Latinx people about, no, like, there's white Latinx people, there's Black Latinx people, and the positions of power are similar, and we like have to deal with it, and we have to talk about it, and
that episode is
have the upper hand.
Episode 64, Latinx identity, way back in the early days. I think we should bring Dash back. I think it's such a fruitful conversation, and I don't think it can be captured in one episode, especially since it's interesting. We got another voicemail where, do you want me to play? It's 56 seconds. Okay, I'll play it.
Okay, now you know it's real if I didn't have to call. This is Ashley. I'm Coleman. Hey, Shanti. Had to check in. I listened to the podcast. Love y'all. But one, internet, you do not have to pay for a Grammy, but we could talk about that at another time. But two, I love the episode with you all talking about raising biracial kids, although I am not biracial. But one thing I just wanted to highlight was making sure that we don't commodify Blackness, because Blackness is culture, right? So the cookout, I don't know, playing double dutch, all that stuff could seem trivial, but part of it is just learning about Black culture. So I think y'all kind of talked about that, but I felt like it was getting into a little bit of iffy waters. Anyway, love the show, love listening. And looking forward to just continued success for you all. Take care.
Like, I actually think that we were saying that, you know, the cookout, that the double dutch, the cornrow, and like you have your daughter learning how to cornrow. But that's not the only Black experience. You know, like, I think that we were saying that. And I don't necessarily know if that's wrong.
But if you never learn how to cornrow, you never learn how to play double dutch, where does that leave you in terms of participating in Black culture? I think that's what I'm like trying to figure out. What does that?
But you were saying on the episode, I'm curious as to, that's not the only Black culture. You know, that
and what is Black culture is still something to
unpack.
Like, I don't know.
Child. Interesting. Obviously, I don't have anything else to add because I'm saying interesting, but I don't know, because when you said it, because I actually had in the notes on my end, you know, something that could help your biracial child, and I literally wrote making sure they're around other Black folks, making sure that they go to the cookout, that they experience it, that they this, they that. And then in talking to you, I was like, oh no, it's to make sure that they're exposed to all different types of Black experiences, and they choose what feels like home to them. Because they're just going to gravitate to whoever they are, like, as a human. And I think that we do have an idea of what the Black experience is. We very much do. And it's, I don't know if we can say that feels limiting being mixed race. I don't want to say that because I feel like
I'm sorry, what feels
that there is an idea of what Black culture is, and it's very specific, American Black culture. And I think what we were alluding to was that feels a little limiting because there are so many vastly different, like in the same breath, we're like, Black is not a monolith, Black is not a monolith. And I think we say that when it comes to struggle and to, like, when it comes to the victimization that people will put on Black folks. It's like, oh, they're poor, or they're this, or they had to struggle their whole lives and welfare. And those are the stereotypes that we're like, fuck you. Black is not a monolith. There's Black luxury, there's Black this, there's Black that. But then when it comes to the daily life and like culture, I think that we're, as a society, we know who Big Skinny Luther is and Big Luther is, like, we should know certain types of music. We should know how to cornrow. We should know how to double dutch. We should know, like, there's certain pillars that you should know. And if you don't, then you're disconnected from your culture. And I think what we were saying was, well, with the expansion of, I guess, just like where people are living within the country, within the globe, is it to say that this person is not Black if they don't know those things?
I know people that aren't biracial that struggle
absolutely
because they grew up in
absolutely
Hawaii where there's not a lot of
yes.
Black people, and they had no sense of that. And then they come back into the fold and they're like questioning their identity, like, oh shit, I don't know what you're talking about.
So are they disconnected from their culture? So that's the thing. I think the question that I have is it possible to still be very much Black, but then be quote unquote disconnected from that Hawaiian Black person may very much be disconnected from their in quotes culture? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Call us and let us know, y'all. But I think that's what folks are getting at. It's like, yeah, it's not a monolith, but when I hear that, it has to do with the stereotypes and the negative connotations often associated with Blackness. Interesting. Okay. We had another voicemail, but I do want to get into our points to ponder, our main meat and potatoes topic. So I'm going to hold those for the next go round because they will, they'll make sense then too. So I was on the interwebs, and someone who I'm just kind of meeting and getting to know, Savon from the Need to Know podcast, he posted a clip about dimming your light and questioning whether the plural you dim your light. And so there's like 4 podcast hosts on this show, and they were discussing it, and it made me think about us. And it made me question myself of like, oh, and I think I said last week that, I have so many people in my ear, telling me all the possibilities of what I could do, who I am, how they see me, how much space I could take up. And I was thinking like, and a lot of them accuse me of dimming my light, that I don't really show up in a way where I believe almost that I deserve that space. And so his question on the podcast was posed, do you dim your light to make other people comfortable? And I sat with that, and I won't say whether or not I do that or not yet. But then I also question, all right, well, also, do I dim my light to make myself comfortable? And what does that mean? And so I want to talk about that with you. And I'm curious to know, like, first, we need to establish what it even means to dim your light. And so in my Googles, I came across some things that made sense to me, some definitions that made sense to me. And it was not allowing your full true self to be seen and blocking your energy from becoming expansive. and that this is usually a natural response to fear, pain, or threat. And so, examples of the way that we often, as humans, dim our light is that we don't speak up, we'll swallow our words, we stay in relationships that drain us and don't serve us. We allow energy sucks and naysayers to get the best of us. We self-sabotage. We turn our backs on our dreams or forget dreaming altogether. And so I sat with it because this is hard. This is not a conversation I feel like really even having right now, because it's deeply personal and you have to get really honest. And so I posed the question, Shanti, do you, I'm going to answer as well, do you dim your light to make other people comfortable? Or do you dim your light to make yourself comfortable?
I dim my light to make myself comfortable first. Mm-hmm. And if I'm in practice of doing that with myself, of course, I also do that in interactions with other people.
Okay.
I think a lot of what I learned, and I've been unpacking this for weeks now, I think is also connected to the codependency the talk that we had last week. A lot of that stuff is the same shit that we talked about last week. But I think a lot of my stuff comes from growing up with parents that I think I watched self-sabotage in a lot of ways, sabotage themselves, as well as I think a lot of neglect. And now, of course, I wasn't like in any ways starving. I always had food on the table, blah, blah, blah. But I think my parents were often preoccupied with their own lives, that there wasn't much attention or water poured on me. I remember many instances of being good at something or being scared of being good at something. One, of being good at something and shying away. One, not getting, I think I was just used to it not being recognized in a way, and then feeling uncomfortable when it was recognized. And then I think that I have, I think that's something that I'm working through now around like self-sabotaging. And I've been wrestling with on this podcast for a long time with you as well. I think you're a great instigator for me to figure out what this idea of potential is, that I'm trying to make lean, because I think I'm trying to figure out if I am trying to show up for, again, am I trying to commodify showing up as my full self? And I want to avoid that at all costs. And so I'm in this constant, I'm just learning how to check in and be like, okay, you are self-sabotaging in a way. And there is a healthy and deeply spiritual and nurturing way to be bright and to connect with people that is okay to protect at all costs, so it's not hijacked by this other thing, by the Lucy, by this like, oh, I'm going to show up because I'm going to get a reward for it somehow. And I don't know if showing up should be connected to reward, because that feels strange. But it's a lot of it I haven't unpacked. But absolutely, my dimming has come from, and it hurts now to even remember the moments that I dimmed myself and like how to like, yes, it's what I know. And it feels much scarier to like not do that. It feels like something I haven't done before and it feels wildly uncertain. So
Something.
I don't want to talk about this either.
I'm sorry. I see you tearing up. So that's why I was trying to jump in and be like, something, are you okay? Do you want to stop? Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that. I think for me, same. I think I'm over, I don't know. I can't well, I'm lying. I'm same. I definitely have dimmed myself as a result of making myself more comfortable, and it's really uncomfortable, actually. I'm like that thing that keeps me up or doesn't let me get the rest that I really want to get, because it's gnawing at me of like, sweetheart, there's a lot more in you. Why are you not being all of you? You're not showing up completely, fully, not taking up all the space. Or the way that you take up space is to distract from who you actually are, what you actually want to be doing, right? Something that I read was that success creates expectations and accountability. I don't really identify with I kind of like expectations a little bit. I like having the bar set and being like, all right, I got to beat that bitch. I got to knock it out the park. But I thought of you. And I thought of like, oh, that's terrifying for people to be like, and you talk about it. You're like, and then there's this expectation to show up a certain way to do this thing. But the thing that I read that hit me, that punched me in the face, was you can either live in your dreams or you can either live in your fears. And I was like, ooh, that's when I close. And I felt it yesterday. Or not, was it yesterday? Well, it'll be a week from today. I felt it when I was with Mandy and we were backstage in some fucking area of the Barclays Center, right? And this is after the Chris Rock and Kevin Hart show. And Sam J is there. And I've met her before. I met her with a friend. Well, I met her with Clint Coley, advice from a fuckboy. I went to see his stand-up in New York. And I met her and we had much conversation, chill, wasn't a crowded space. Like we had one-on-one interaction. And I saw her in the space and she kind of looked at me and was like, maybe she didn't recognize me, maybe whatever. And I mentioned to Mandy, like, oh, I've met her before. She's like, you need to go say hi. Get her on the podcast. Tell her what you do. And I just would not do it. I wouldn't do it. I just didn't feel like, I felt like, what if she rejects me? It's like, bitch, get out of my face. You know the fuck I am? I'm not coming to your little podcast. Or like, why wouldn't you even speak to this person? And so I watched Mandy work that room. And I realize I'm not good at networking. One, because I don't like small talk. But two, because I don't always feel like I belong in the room. And so when you're not there, remember when we were at the Curly Nikki event together? And we were just at each other's hip. I don't think we talked to a whole lot of people besides Nikki, who had already co-signed us, who we already felt safe with.
I don't remember that a bit.
With Tracy Ellis Ross, and she was like, those are my friends. When we first met Nikki. And so I realized, oh, you don't show up in spaces because you're terrified that you don't belong there. And it made me sad. Like on the way home, I was like, yo, what the fuck? And Mandy's putting the battery on my back. She's going on to Brea's page. I see this in you. You could be this if you wanted to be this. Like, you're gorgeous. Why won't you take a picture? I'm shooting with my friend, The New Black. I know how to take a fucking picture. I know how to pose and make my eyes do that little thing. I in the moment feel like, who the fuck do I think I am doing this? Who do I think I am being out on the street posing like this? I know what makes my body look good, or makes me feel good. I also am like, you used to sing. You don't. What's the fear behind that? What's that based in? What are you doing? You are a trained dancer. You don't take class anymore. What's the fear behind it? And it's not just, and that's where I talk about the expectation of having to monetize your talents and your things. And yes, that's there, but it's not just that. It's fear that I'm going to be laughed at or that I'm not good enough for any of these spaces that I'm in, that I'm a master of none. I'm just I'm a little bit good at a lot of things. And so there's not space for that. And that breaks my heart. And so I also know that there are people in both of our lives that are struggling with the same thing. And so there are times when I have a win, or I feel like I have a win, and I don't want to share it. And I think that's rooted in compassion. I don't think it's rooted in self-deprecation. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing all the time. Unpopular opinion. And it's not to hide it, but sometimes if you're aware that someone is struggling or going through something where they're not feeling good about themselves, sometimes you shut the fuck up. Like, just chill. They'll share at another time. And so I don't know if that's always a bad thing, but I do think it's a bad thing if you can never share your wins with someone, if you can never be celebrated. And when you said that there were points where you weren't there, the attention wasn't paid to you, I think that you weren't celebrated. And I see you get uncomfortable when you're celebrated, same as me. But you more so, like celebrating Sable getting it, like being in that mall was a really fucking big deal for us to celebrate. And your body was like, I don't know who I think I am. I don't know, like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I know who the fuck you are. Me saying, like, on the last episode, why don't you organize it? And you're like, I understand you're not I was referencing, why don't you get organized in the climate change and preventing climate change and organizing around unions and work and restructuring how we function in society. I see all of that in you. And there's so much that I think we see in other people that we don't see in ourselves. And so I think that this idea of dimming our light is so deeply rooted in betrayal, in betrayal, and in somewhat accountability. Being accountable in, like, I'm going to be me fully. And like, we say that all the time, and that's not just being loud and talking shit on a podcast. That's the easiest thing. I'm fucking right. That's the easiest thing in the world. The hard is stepping into a room and knowing you belong there. The hard is being honest that, like, you're a creative being and you've abandoned that entire side of you.
Abandon my boy.
What is that from?
Have you ever seen that? There will be blood. I've abandoned my child.
No, I couldn't watch that movie. Wasn't it gore? It was like super gory, right?
No, just at the end they did.
Oh, that was the only part I saw. Was I got the tail end and was like, I can't watch this. So I need to go back and watch it. But yeah,
sorry about that.
It really is. And I think that we talk so much. I think that, and I know that we're not capitalists, but that's another reason why I asked you when you were like, I'll never be like a millionaire, or on the last episode, I was like, you don't see that for yourself? And it's not that I want you to want to be a millionaire. It's that I want us to know that those possibilities are real for ourselves. And I just don't, even the way we'll talk about the podcast, the way we went on Disrupting the Cultures podcast and the way they bigged us up, and the way we... Who
the fuck is she talking about?
Us? And she was like, yeah, y'all this, y'all that. And I'm like, what? The way when And it's not bullshit. Like, I think that people might think that we play and that, like, no, we really, I think, have a bit of imposter syndrome, a lot of it. But I also think we just betrayed ourselves in a lot of ways. And I don't want that for us anymore. I really don't. Do you hear this? Stop! Sorry, y'all. Blue is back to her bullshit. She wants some food and I was going somewhere. You messed
It's
up
about that
the
time.
mood. Kill the vibe.
It's about that time.
But all that to say, if we can get more specific, if you're comfortable, I would like to know, or I would like us to offer and explore more specifically the ways that we dim our light to make ourselves feel comfortable. Do you want me to start? She said, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you want me to start?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I named some. I was hoping you would. I think I mean, not going up to people and acting like I've actually met them before and shared space with them and am worthy of their fucking time. That's one. I think the fact that there's not a creative outlet in my fucking life outside of this podcast is the biggest betrayal of myself right now, currently. The biggest betrayal. I can no longer do that. Even if it's go take a dance class or go an hour a day to sing. And not only that, share it. Because you don't want to just do it in the house. You don't have to monetize it, but share it. It's in you. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be. I think that's like the biggest one. I definitely think even certain outfits, I'll put something on and it's too much. This is too much.
Girl, that gets on my nerves.
Who?
How cute you looked at the shit up. I do the same thing.
I was about to say, that's why I said who, because I was like, oh yeah, you. I was thinking, yeah, you do that, and I was like, oh, you talking about me? Because you're always the way that you freaked out where were we in Tulum when you put that bathing suit on? I was like, bitch, if you don't wear that bathing suit,
that ain't me though. It's not me, and that's okay. I'm not dimming my light
right,
by being
if it's
like,
not your style.
I'm like, it's not my style. It's just not my style.
Things that are my style, and it's too much. It's who do I think I am? Why am I wearing this? I should change. This is relax. And it's like, why don't you just be who you are? I mean, those are they might seem trivial, but they're deeply connected.
No, I think
to how I show up.
Yeah.
In general. And then recently being in front of a camera, in front of someone that I know and am like dear friends with, and having to put that thing on, that kind of diva thing that he doesn't know of me, right? You haven't seen this side, Birkenstock, chilling, real laid back,
bitch, I'm a baddie, okay?
But that's the thing, because I've abandoned that part of me being on stage and turning into this thing that takes over, right? Like, I never claimed to be the best anything on stage, but what I did claim was, I'm going to get your attention. You're going to be locked in. You're going to be invested.
Yeah.
Something happens.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm serious.
That.
Like,
I was like, what the fuck is that? When we used to see you at the college thing, we were like,
something happens.
Girl.
Something happens.
Not Beyonce, not Sasha Fierce.
And not being able to tap into that anymore tells me how disconnected I am.
Not being in practice of it. Not being in practice of it. I need you to take time and write it down because I have to pee so bad. And I don't know if you've noticed this, and I apologize, but please take the time. I'm so sorry, but I
Go
cannot.
ahead, girl. Don't dim your light.
Right back.
Maybe I should feed my cat then. She already ate though. Blue. She told me to write the time down and I didn't. I had one job and I couldn't do it. Well, I don't really want to have to edit this video though, so maybe I just keep talking to y'all. Maybe not. You know what else is really concerning? Now I'm breaking the wall here. I've drank 4 of these and haven't peed. I'm talking to the people.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I was talking to the people. I drank 4 of these and haven't peed, which tells me how dehydrated I've been. Bitch, I've taken about 3 or 4 naps today. I was like, during work hours, couldn't function, sweating. And I realized I was actually dying of thirst.
Not you taking 4 naps.
Baby, I would set my alarm 15-minute intervals, like, and I would put up a bullshit status like, someone's at my door, I had to run downstairs. Knocked out, struggling. Girl, I'm like, girl, you should have went to the bathroom by now. That's how you know.
No, I also have a old woman's bladder.
Incontinence.
It's not well. On the other side of here, I'm not okay. It's not okay.
All right, we're back.
I think the root thing is betraying, communicating, and standing in how I really feel about something, right? And being able to communicate that. At a young age, again, I remember I would withhold and disconnect from what my needs were, and then disconnect from what my desire, like my desire, like my want for something, right? Like,
wow.
I remember, as you know, for the first time, or where's one time? Biggest regret of my life. I'll do a past, then I'll do a present. I'll do 2 pasts and 2 presents so you guys understand what's my problem. For the first time, when I was 14, about to go into high school, I got accepted to Saul. Saul is an agriculture school in Philadelphia. Biggest regret of my life right here, y'all. Maybe this is where it also deepens here. It's where the plot thickened. It's agriculture school. You learn about farming and you learn about animals, plants. Got accepted. They required a orientation before you actually started the school year. I was getting into my loner thing at that time. I was also working. So I was like highly independent, and my parents had just separated. So I was just like figuring out how to get to school by I don't know. They had nothing to do with me going to that orientation, but every day in the summertime, I would wake up and I would go to that orientation, and I loved it. I loved it. I studied my ass off. I was super focused. I'd come home. I would draw out the leaves, study the leaves, I guess they didn't grade you. We did take tests, but I don't remember being like, wow, I'm getting A's. But I remember at the end of the orientation, they handed out awards. And I got so many awards. And I was like, what? Like, the hard work and like filling up in my potential in a certain way, and then seeing the results of that. And it wasn't that I got the rewards. It was that the energy that I got from like showing up and doing my very best and hyper focusing. The results of that were like generative. It fed me in a way that I was like, oh shit, like this shit is possible. Somehow or other, I dropped out of Saul. I dropped out. Like I could have taken that same energy. I remember I was also playing softball. I was playing around with one of the teachers that I really took a liking to me, not in a weird way, but like he saw something in me. He was a softball teacher, and I had like this athletic ability. He was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, and then I was like, I'm going to drop out of high school now. Things are getting crazy. Like, for whatever reason, I was like, none of this matters. I dropped out of high school. That was the first time I dropped out of high school.
Was it expectations? Like it
was it? No, I think, I mean, this gets a lot convoluted, and I don't want to go into it, but this is, I guess all you, as well as all the listeners, are now seeing this through line of like, none of this matters. There was something in me that resigned to like, high school's bullshit. This is all bullshit. And in a lot of ways, that is true, but the practice of filling up and showing up is what's offered to you by doing the quote unquote bullshit things that I ran from, that I was like, dropped out of high school, floundered about. The second time that was my first most notable self-sabotage. The second time was when I wanted to be a nurse. Put myself through nursing school, worked, studied, focused, like not fucking around, focusing, got all A's, got into community college nursing school, which ho-hum, people want to say community college. Philadelphia Community College has one of the best and most competitive nursing schools that will take you the trajectory to Drexel, to Temple, to get your RN in a much cheaper way in all of the city. Got in. Something happened where it got difficult. No, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Boom, self-sabotaged. That fell through. And so I think then I had a baby, which was the ultimate. I love JoJo to death, but that was the ultimate, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna slow down. You're gonna stop this thing.
What do you mean by that?
That I think I'm still, just like, when you have a baby, your options.
Oh, that's the slowdown.
They limit in a way. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to go travel and run these streets. And like, even going back to school felt like, oh, such a hard thing to do. Like, and then I resigned to that voice in me. It's like, oh, none of this matters. Like, stay small. It's safer. And you're more comfortable at staying small. And the story that I tell myself is like, oh, because this shit don't matter. And it's true. I'm finally cracking open, like, yes, some of that is true, but there's this other part that matters that has nothing to do with material reward or, it's not public. It's like this really sacred, personal, spiritual thing that we're all called to be in practice of showing up, of attempting hard things, of meeting a challenge in a particular way that I think I'm reckoning with now, with Around the Week Curls, with Sable, that I could have the option in a lot of ways to be like, oh, this public thing doesn't matter. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be rich. I don't want to do what all of these other podcasters are doing. I don't necessarily want to show. But there's something, I feel like that is a trap for me to self-sabotage in a way. Even with Sable stuff of like, you don't know what you're doing, whatever shit I have to say. That is tempting me to dim myself. But I also see what I've done in the past. And this has just been like a revelation I had like 2 weeks ago. If you had asked me this any sooner, I'd be like, girl, I don't mean nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. But I see it. And I'm still working through it. I don't know what the answer is. And I think that I'm trying to decipher. I don't want to think the answer is work harder. You have to work harder. I think it's somewhere around.
Be honest.
Honesty. I think there's determination involved in there. And I think that there's not being afraid to like love something, to like want
To
want something. Desire. That's what it is. To
I wrote
want
that
something.
down.
There's nothing perverse about wanting something and doing something and doing the hard work of keeping it honest.
Let's talk about that.
And not letting it become a perverted version that grosses us out and makes us be lost.
What do we want?
Girl,
Let's be honest. What do we want? There's something in our hearts. What do we want? Just say it. Be brave.
I don't know. You go first. I don't
You
know,
don't know
yet.
yet.
Girl,
There's
I don't
no
know.
desire. There's no desire. That you.
I think it's in connection. I think for me, it's in connection. It's in connection somehow. It's being able to not shy away from this kind of stuff for me. It's this kind of...
That's not the kind of one I was talking about, but okay.
I don't know what you mean.
What do you want? What's a goal-oriented want for yourself?
But why? That's where you catching me of like, what are these goals? How do you get
With
to a
around
goal
the way
without
curls? What do you want?
fueling it
What do you
with
want?
some?
What do you want? What do you see for
I
it?
don't know.
What do you want? What do you see for us? Why are we doing this? For you, on your end. What do you want out of it?
I'm trust me, I'm thinking about it. I'm not shying away from thinking about it. But I don't have that exact thing yet because it's not a shiny thing. That's all I can say. It's not a shiny thing. That scares me. That's
What
all
scares
I can
you?
say.
The
That
shiny
scares
thing?
me. The idea of
Because
like,
there's expectations involved
if
in
I were to
that?
say, we're gonna have a TV show, that's so far from what I want.
Do you not want it
I
because
want
it
to
scares
be
you, or
put
do you not
on.
want it because that's just not, you're not interested in that? Because I
haven't
going back
figured
to
out
the
what
TV
that
show. I
means
don't
for
know.
me.
Did we ever talk about that?
I'm
Oh.
just saying, like, whatever the thing what do podcasters
See,
do?
no,
They,
not
like,
what do
go
podcasters
do a
do. What
thing.
do you
I don't
want
know.
from this?
I don't know, girl.
Well, I think that's the
I'm
thing
sorry.
is I think if we're just doing it, anyone, not us. I'm not talking specific about us. I don't want to go into us and our business dynamics. But if anytime you're just doing something to just do it, and it is related to business, that gets difficult. I think there are key performance indicators, KPIs, and like different goals that that is healthy to have. It's okay to have, and I think that sometimes we don't have them because we're like, oh, we'll take what we can get, whatever comes of it. That's a passion project. This is a business, and so I think that having some goals, a place to get to, something to work towards is healthy. And it doesn't have to be, I have to grind, wake up and grind. It doesn't have to be that. It can just be, that's what we're working towards in our way, in our balanced way. I think that's okay. I know for me, what do I want? I want to be able to sustain myself financially, emotionally, from this podcast, from other creative endeavors I have. If I'm being specific, I don't want to talk about the projects. I don't want nobody to steal it. But I have a project that I am working on with my friend Black. I want to be someone that people come to relate to feel seen, to feel inspired by, to not feel, I don't want to say what I don't want them to feel. I'll talk about what I want. And I want to be able to honestly share all the parts of me. I want to share me getting back to me. and that journey and what that looks like, because I think that's going to help a lot of people. That's my very, that's my want in the moment. And they're going to change. I want to not have to work at my job within the next 2 years. I want to be done with that, from the 9 to 5 lifestyle. I want to be my own boss. I want to show up in front of men like I am worthy of their time, their attention, their investment, and their love. I want, what else do I want? I want to own property. Like, I'm very clear. These are the things I want. And I'm going to say it.
And you think that they're connected to you, that you not dimming?
Yes. Oh, yes. I dim. Even if I'm being approached by a man, I have a whole psyche in my head. If they're not trash, if they're quality men, I'm like, why would he want me? There's so many different, like, it's just silly. There's so many women more financially this. There's so many women who are more this, more that, more is tight, more is whatever the fuck that means. I do a whole thing. Will I ever could I own property? That's a lot to maintain. Could you keep it up? Could you do it? Could you pay off the loans? I dim. I mean, I had an opportunity with a friend to like possibly go in on something and I couldn't take the risk. Fear. My dim is rooted in fear. Couldn't take the risk. And then the art stuff is always, the creative stuff is always about rooted in me not feeling good enough, not feeling like the best at anything, and you don't have to be, because that's not what art is. And then also me fear, the rejection of it. Like, it's a whole thing. It's so deeply personal. Those are the things I want. For Around the Way Curls, very specifically, I want this to make more money. I want to hit 100,000 downloads a month within the next 12 months. And we ain't that far from it. I want to do some sort of live immersive experience. I don't want it to be a cookie cutter live show. I want it to be something where people come and they feel like they've had an experience with us. And I want us to figure out what the next thing is, because podcasting ain't going to be forever. You know? But I want to foster it so that it lasts. Those are my wants. And foster it in a way where it's not just to make money, but it's deeply rooted in service and things that we're passionate about, and an offering to the community that is not price gouging, or, you know, we're millionaires necessarily off of it, but it's like, it's mutually beneficial and we're doing a service and we should be paid appropriately for it. That, unless it's like Target, y'all got it. That's what I want. I'm saying it. So now I have to be held accountable.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Anyway, I think and lastly, ways to stop dimming our light, or ways to even, I guess, recognize that we're doing it. Observing our bodies. I know I've physically tried to, it is hard, but tried to get smaller in that space, in that room full of people that I felt were above me in terms of social rank. You know, I start fidgeting, fixing my clothes over and over and over again. My smile might be a little less. My voice might drop a little bit, might not say anything. gravitate to just getting on my phone to disappear. Bitch, your light bright ass and your breasts were out. You can't disappear. You're there. You can't. You're there. You're not invisible. So that like shoulders hunching, eyes at the floor, looking at your phone, posture says a lot about a person sometimes. Sometimes you're posturing or sometimes you're just fucking present. I think it's important to get honest about why we're doing it and why we feel safe. And that in that honesty and in that checking in, I think it's going to help us identify when we're doing it, and also help us to heal whatever parts of us that we need to heal, or brave whatever parts we need to brave, face that head on so that we can move on to the next thing, And I also think being in practice of it alone, doing the things maybe that scare the shit out of you alone so you can feel it again, feel whatever that is important. And I'm going to ask you to help hold me accountable. When you see me do it, when you start seeing me messing with myself, that I'm telling you right now, that's a telltale sign. If I'm fidgeting with my clothes, or if I'm not present, I'm not comfortable, I'm feeling insecure, and I need somebody to ground me. Do you have it? Would you like to be held accountable at all? Okay, cool. I'll let you know, bitch. Shanti said, girl, bye.
I don't know if maybe I'm not as aware. I think I still have some. Yeah, I think if you see it, you probably see it and can name it and be like, are you dimming yourself? You surely say, are you eating because you're hungry, or are you eating because
you need to say that to me.
See how it is.
With your look,
no, you say that to me. So you make
because I know that you can eat, and I'd be like, mainly I do that because you always afterwards are like, my stomach is gonna hurt. My stomach hurts, and you ruin the day, and I'm like, oh God.
I'm saying you absolutely you can and may and should and check in. And I think by you even probing to be like, all right, you need to get clear about what you want. Like,
I'm always going to ask you that.
That is a way for me. I'm telling you, this is 30...
35?
How am I? I don't know how long I'm 36 35. 35 years. Years of not being in practice of that in a particular way. So it's happening. I'm seeing myself more, and I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Shout out to you.
All right, girl.
You know what I really want right now?
To go to bed.
But I really would love.
Oh my God, girl.
What am I going to say? I would love, we have not had an around the way affirmation in so long. And I just feel like this is like the most perfectest episode or whatever to leave the people with some shit to meditate on. Like, I shade, I must stay, baby.
We are gathered here together, unified, glorified, to sit with ourselves, dig deep into ourselves, and show up, to get big, to get bright, to get weird if you have to get out of line, to get back in line. I think we should give ourselves the permission and the grace to start getting brighter and bolder and more honest with ourselves. And fuck shit up. That's all I can say. I don't have any fancy hip-hop reference or anything, but that. Glow up so we can grow up. And that's it. Ashe. Namaste.
Very good. I was hoping you was gonna say to find out what you want, and then I was gonna say what these bitches want from a nigga. I had it all planned out.
What these
but
bitches
it
want.
didn't work out. All right, it is late. We gotta figure out how to trim that first episode down, baby. We were just talking, but climate change had us going. Oh, everyone, I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it wasn't too, what'd she say?
Awkward. Get more awkward too. Bitches, don't be scared to be awkward. I think that is very much connected to not dimming.
Yeah.
Fuck what everybody says. That's another thing. That's definitely part of not dimming.
Ciao. So listen, we are Around the Way Curls. This is Antoinette and Shanti. I do realize that we should do that. Actually, we need to start doing that every episode. Oh no, we do it in the intro. This is your girl Shanti. Okay, never mind. We good. Woo, child, it's late. All right. Well, please rate, subscribe, share, do all the things. And yeah, with that, we are
Ooh.